This is how you play Uranus versus Mincy, and I'll teach you how to carry in solo RG. You see, playing solo is really hard because most of the time, you get random teammates who start getting fed even when the game just begins. But I still believe they're good players. It's just that sometimes, the enemy team is simply too strong and you have to consider the lack of chemistry. After all, it's your first time playing with each other. No communication, no synergy, just 5 strangers trying to figure things out. And because the enemies are obviously dominating, they start bragging in-game, spamming emotes and recalls. As a solo player, situation like this do happen a lot, but I don't consider my teammates as bad players because I know each of us is also trying to win the team. And I thought it was Argus, but he picked Uranus last second. Alright, so here's the final draft, and looking at the enemy lineup, it's a pretty interesting matchup. And by the way, for those asking about my build, I've already uploaded a full item guide on my channel, so feel free to check it out after this video. So now, during the laning stage, the best thing to do is actually nothing. Don't even bother poking Uranus because he can just easily regen and return to full HP, so it's completely useless to waste your energy. And yes, just let him do his thing. He'll probably cut the lane, and that's fine. No need to chase or overreact. You just have to focus on getting your EXP from the minions and playing it safe. Also, once you see Uranus overextending, that's your chance to grab the crab and get some extra XP. But only do it if you clearly see him on the map. If he's missing, then back off because he might contest it, and you really want to avoid dueling him at this point. His first skill got a solid buff, and it actually deals a lot of damage now. So if you don't want to get poked and end up missing your minion waves and XP, it's better to just play it safe. Now that I can clearly see Uranus on the map, it's the perfect time to take the crab. Then go back to playing safe and with discipline. Just stay and farm near your tower. And I get it. Some people might think you're playing too passive, and maybe even call you a coward. But I used to main assassins back in my prime. I did flashy and aggressive plays and all those risky dives. And yes, those moments look cool. But I realized that real strength isn't about proving you're really strong by forcing high risk play and winning 1v1 or trying to sustain tanky heroes like Uranus. It's all about timing, discipline, and decision making. Here, since I already reached level 4, I signaled my teammates to engage Uranus because he was positioned way too deep. I aimed my hook toward this spot, predicting he might pass through this path. It's one of the best angles to land a clean hook plus ultimate combo, but unfortunately, Uranus went the other way. Then the turtle spawned. At this point, you can see that our mage was still too far from the turtle pit, and Angela didn't even have her ultimate. And on top of that, Roger was already a level ahead of our jungler, which gave them a big advantage. So realistically, contesting the turtle here was a bad move. But despite all that, my teammates still went for it. Then, I tried to make a trade by taking down Uranus, but I was still lacking damage. And Hayabusa helped, but he ended up getting taken down in the process. Since my lane opponent was taken out, I took the chance to grab the gold plate and secured around 300 gold, which was a nice boost. After that, I immediately went back under my tower and avoid unnecessary duel against him. I didn't want to risk fighting him again, especially not in open space where he could kite or poke me. You'll notice that I only choose to fight him when I really have to, only when he tries to get too close to me. Sometimes, it's not about showing you can outdamage someone, it's about knowing when to hold back and wait for better opportunities. That's how you avoid feeding in your lane. Now we're slowly entering the mid game, and this is where I introduce to you what I call the EXP Gambit Rotation. The idea behind this rotation is simple. You willingly give up and sacrifice your pawns in your XP lane in order to gain a strategic advantage in the gold lane. I usually do this for 2 main reasons. First, to help our gold laner snowball, and second, when my lane opponent becomes too tanky or hard to punish. And that's exactly the case with Uranus in this match. At this point, even if I land my full combo on him, he'll most likely survive thanks to his regen and tankiness. So instead of wasting Minsithar's skills and trying to force fights that won't lead to a clear advantage, I shift my focus and I rotate toward the gold lane. This is where enemy heroes are usually more vulnerable. This way, I can make use of my crowd control and burst potential to help secure takedowns and tilt the momentum in our favor. And I introduced this rotation years ago, but still, many are still not aware of this. And that's the best part because enemies will just be surprised that Mincy with no mobility is already with them in the opposite lane. Don't worry, I will provide more context about this rotation in my future videos if God wills it. And take note, Minsitthar isn't really the best hero to perform this kind of rotation. He doesn't possess that high mobility compared to other XP laners. But here's where it gets interesting. Psychologically, he becomes effective in this role because no one really expects it. Most players assume Minsitthar will just stay in his lane, especially since he's usually just walking around with basic boots. So when I suddenly show up in the gold lane, it catches the enemy off guard. That's the beauty of it. It's not just about stats or mechanics, it's about timing and surprise. Even without flashy movement, you can still make an impact by being unpredictable and choosing the right moment to rotate. Now right here, our mage is actually starting to complain. He thought I was just abandoning my lane for no reason. He doesn't know about the EXP Gambit Rotation, which is why he looked pretty stressed. But don't worry, I wasn't planning to overstay in the gold lane. As you can see, I'm already rotating back to my lane. Also, I'll try to make as few cuts as possible so you can really follow how I play in solo RG. And basically, I went back to doing exactly what I did earlier, taking every resource I can get to slowly build up my gold and EXP lead. It may not look flashy, but these small decisions are what keep me relevant and stable in the mid game. While you're still planning your next move, just make use of the bush. Stay hidden, stay patient. Once you see the enemies are far from your area, that's your chance to secure every objective you can. Also, I'm constantly checking the enemy's items and build patterns. That way, I can estimate how much damage I can deal and see early on how they're planning to counter my setup. It's not just about reacting, it's about being 2 steps ahead. And now, you'll see me doing the EXP Gambit Rotation again. Honestly, I don't really mind if Uranus ends up destroying my lane. What matters more is stopping their main damage dealer from snowballing even harder. That's the bigger threat. So here I am, rotating up once again, fully prepared to shut down their carry. But I'm a bit late and our gold laner was already taken down. Also, the flying dinosaur snitched on me here, so I kept my distance and tried not to force anything as my whole plan got revealed. Look how aggressive and strong the enemy team really is. They're not giving us space easily, and this is where decision making under pressure really matters. Now look at the enemies, they're used to dominating the top lane, and because of that, they've become overly confident. They don't even respect the king, so that's why I humble and stop them from what they're doing. It's very important that you respect your enemy's takedown potential. That's why you'll see me here backing off and not forcing to defend the tower because I respect Kimmy and Diggy. And I also don't have my escape potential because Flicker is already burned down. And notice here that Granger is around 10 seconds away from respawning. And pay close attention in the minimap, you can see that Uranus is already taking minion waves in the bot lane. Based on that information, Granger will most likely head straight to the top lane to continue farming. This is how you read your enemy's next move. But remember, don't get too excited. Just wait for Granger to use his dash or skill 2 before you engage. That way, he will have no escape option, and you'll have a clean and secured takedown. After that, you can clearly see Granger has learned his lesson. Just look at him, playing extra cautious and careful this time, even using his ultimate to scout bushes. But the story is different this time. I'm not too concerned about hiding perfectly, because I know my Flicker is just a few seconds away from being available. He keeps poking with his ultimate trying to keep me off, but I've already set the board and he can run but he can't hide. I'm just waiting for my cooldown and a perfect opening and everything will be over for him. That's why I'd recommend using Flicker so you can create plays like this. And Roger has been dominating this entire game, taking turtle and stealing buffs, and it's not a surprise because he received a solid buff in the recent patch. But don't worry, Minsitthar can actually handle him pretty easily, and I'll share everything I know so you can destroy him too. Now take a look at the minimap. Roger is about to respawn in 20 seconds, and his red buff is coming up as well. If you also check the Lord timer, it's respawning in less than a minute. So considering all of this, it's very likely that Roger will go for his red buff first, then rotate to his blue, and finally position himself for the Lord dance. I know this because back in my prime, jungling was my main role. And now, I'm exposing this knowledge to you so that even if you're not a jungler, you can start predicting enemy movements and increase your chances of winning ranked games. Now if you already know these things, that's great, but I'm sharing this for those who are still learning and want to level up their gameplay as well. See, because of that simple play, our team can now secure the Lord freely. But make no mistake, if you look closely at the enemy lineup, they technically have 3 marksmen in their draft. That means defending the Lord is actually easy for them, so we can't afford to relax just yet and we still really need to continue this game very carefully. Now that we're in the late game, it's time to use the King's Trap. This is how you can pick off enemy easily even under their towers. And it's also not a popular tactic, just like the EXP Gambit Rotation, which is why I can pull it off almost every single game. Now look at these minions in the top lane. There will always be a hero sent to defend this wave, so take advantage of that fact and position in advance. Now look at this Roger. He was confidently dominating earlier, but I just took him down like paper. And look at what he said. He's already asking us to end the game, clearly feeling hopeless and disappointed. But don't fall for that. Don't let your guard down just yet. Remember, you're still playing solo, and you can't fully trust your teammates' decisions. You'll see later that our gold laner and jungler will overcommit, get too confident, and end up getting taken down one by one. This is already the second Lord, but if you take a closer look, the enemy's inhibitor towers are still standing strong and are complete. That's why you'll see me here focusing on pushing the side lanes, because the goal isn't to force a full 5v5 teamfight just yet. I prefer to create pressure on every lane. You see, when all 3 lanes are pushing simultaneously, the enemy is forced to split up and defend all 3 lanes. And now at this point, I honestly thought we were already winning. Roger had just been taken down in the mid lane, which should have given us a clear advantage. But watch what happens next. This is where things start to fall apart. Our gold laner gets picked off shortly after, and then Hayabusa decides to go for a dive. To be fair, it was actually a good decision because the enemy team was already low on HP, and he even managed to take out Diggy. But the problem was, he had no more escape skills left, so he ended up getting taken down too. But this is one example why staying hidden is such a powerful weapon. Just simply don't give your enemies your position, then jump and surprise them with precision. Also, I will make another video specifically against Uranus, since I didn't really get the chance to face him in a proper 1v1 during the late game here. I'll be glad to share tips how to burst tanky heroes even with Uranus. Thanks for all the support and don't forget to subscribe.